We're now going to add a router to our network. This will give us two subnets. That will require a little bit of subnetting on our IP addresses. But simply we can borrow one bit to give us a /25 subnet, or 255.255.255.128, and we'll then have the ranges of 192.168.0 to 127 and 128 to 254 on the other side. So let's move this PC over slightly and get rid of the connecting cable, and we'll take a 1941 router. We like it because it's got gigabit interfaces, and we'll cable it up. Straight through cable between the switch and gigabit 01, and a crossover cable between Fast Ethernet and gigabit 00. Now, first thing we're going to have to do is put the switch back to its default settings. So if we go into the switch, and of course it now asks for a password, and privilege exec mode, again we need a password from the last time. So the quickest way of getting rid of the configuration is right erase, confirm it, and we'll delete VLAN.dat to get rid of any VLANs that were there before, and then we'll reload, and it starts a reboot. While it's rebooting, let's do some router configuration. So it's booted, and we can get to the prompt, and again enable and configure terminal to get us going. First thing I like to do is disable DNS lookup, just in case I type anything wrong. It saves a long pause. So we'll do no IP domain lookup. Then we apply the basic configuration like we did on the router. So we'll give it a host name. We'll call this one router 1. And we can give it a domain name with IP domain name, and we'll call it ken.com. There we go. We could then go on to do all the passwords exactly the same as we did on the switch to start with. So enable secret in the password. We'll do the console. And we'll do the telnet access. There we go. And as before, we'll encrypt it. There we go. So we've got basic configuration on. Of course, with a router you can do slightly more. So we'll restrict the minimum length of password required for passwords. So security password min-length, and we'll put it to 8. There we go. We can also create some local usernames and passwords. So we'll do user, and I'll put in Ken, secret, and then what I want the password to be. remembering a minimum of 8 characters. Now that we've got those, we can go back to the line VTY015. Oops. There we go. And we can type login local to make it use a local database. While we're here, we can set it to use both SSH and Telnet. So we'll do transport input followed by which one you want, Telnet, SSH, or in my case, all. There we go. We can give it the normal banner, MOTD, as and we've done it then. As we're using SSH, we need to generate a cryptography key. So we'll type in crypto key generate RSA. Ask us how big a key we want. We'll do 1024, and it's generated the cryptography key for us. Next thing we need to do is set up all the interfaces with the correct IP address. So we'll do interface G0/0, and we'll give it an IP address on the correct subnet, PC1 192.168.1.1. So we'll give this one an IP address of 192.168.1.126, and of course 255.255.255.128 because we've subnetted it. We can also give it a description, and we'll call this subnet A. And of course, no shutdown to make it come up. We'll swap interfaces to G0/1. We'll give it a description first. Subnet B, and its IP address 192.168.1.253, and no shutdown. And that's that interface configured. The PCs will now need to be told about the default gateways. So on to PC1. We'll change the subnet mask, and we'll change its default gateway. So it should now communicate with the router. PC2. It's now 129. And its default gateway there we go. We'll prove that works. We'll go into one of the PCs, and we should be able to ping the various devices. So we'll ping the interface next to it. it responds. We'll ping the other side of the router. And we'll ping the other PC. That all works. Of course, we still have the switch to configure. So we'll go into the switch. It's rebooted by now. So again, we'll enable. And of course, we could go through the whole configuration as I did in the previous video. But the only thing we really need to do is configure the SVI. So we'll go back on interface VLAN 1, give it an IP address, and it is 192.168.1.252 with a 255.255.255.128, and we need to tell it its default gateway, IP default, and it's at default gateway 192.168.1.253. And there's the switch configured. I've missed out all the passwords that I did previously. So we need to prove those work. So we'll head back to the PC and try to ping them. So this time we're pinging 252. And of course I've forgotten to bring the interface up. I'll quickly nip back. No shutdown. And there we go. Works this time round.